Hi there! It is a cozy, snowy winter day, and I thought it'd be fun to start a new project. So as you probably saw in the title of this video, I want to try to do a children's book in 24 hours. So that's a bit of a challenge. I've never done this before, but it's going on 11 a.m. So I want to try to have it done by 11 a.m. tomorrow. So if you're following along and are trying to do this project too, don't feel any pressure. There's no real need to get it done in 24 hours, unless you have a little kid's birthday tomorrow and you really need a present. So other than that, just have fun, and the most important thing is that we're happy with the result at the end and that we have fun. So I'm really excited to dive in, and we'll see how this goes. So before we dive in and get wonderfully engrossed in the project, there's some things that we probably should keep in mind and be prepared for. So the first thing I was thinking of is that we really want to keep the project simple. We don't want to make it complicated, we don't want to make it too big, or it won't happen in 24 hours. Now, if you do want to make it more complicated, that's perfectly fine, but it'll just take you a little longer. So one thing to really consider is the illustrations. Do you want to do big, huge illustrations and make them really complicated, like in this book? I don't think so, because that didn't happen in 24 hours. It's an adorable book, but it just took longer. So if you want to do something like that, great, but that's not really what I have in mind for myself. I'm going to be going a little bit more Frog and Toadish, where he has little illustrations. They're kind of little snapshots. They're not complicated, they're pretty quick to make, and they're still cute. So that's a little more what I'm going for with this project. Another thing to keep in mind is, before you even start, you need to have the idea for the story in your head. So I've got it in my head, but I haven't written it down yet because that's what I want to do today. So at some point in this video, I'm going to switch over to the computer and work on that. Another thing to keep in mind is you need to have your supplies ahead of time. I found this little, very small photo album. I found it a little difficult to get it exactly in this size. It's a 4x6, but I found them at Joann's, and this will suit my purpose. Obviously, I want to change the cover because I'm not writing a story about life is better by the sea. So I'm gonna have to do something about the cover, but this is the right size for me. It's got 12 pages, so I think that's doable, and I think this is gonna do just perfect. Also, you want some watercolor paper, or if you're doing a different medium, you can decide what you're going to do. But for me, I'm a watercolor fan, so you need watercolor paper, paints, a pencil. Also, I like to do pen and ink, which is where you outline your painting in ink. Frog and Toad does this, and I've seen lots of other illustrators do this. Beatrix Potter did this in most of her illustrations. So I like to use these pens. They're Pigma Micron pens. I like the 01 size the best. It's a nice, small, thin line, and you can make it thicker if you want to just by doing more strokes. So that's what I'm going to be using pretty much, and obviously you want basically anything you need to sketch and paint. Alright, so now I'm going to work on the writing process, and I've just opened up a Microsoft Word document because that's what I like to use. I'm not going to get into the technicalities of the writing process too much because it's pretty simple. I'm just going to start with an outline, basically diagram out what's going to be on each of my 12 pages, and then it's really simple from there. I just want to do like anywhere from 2 to 4 sentences on each page, probably 2 or 3. So it's really not very complicated. Just use your imagination and tell the story that you want to tell. So I'm just going to start by numbering off my pages. Here I've got my outline. It's really very simple. It's just a sentence under each page that tells me what's going to happen on that page. And now that I've got that plan, I can start writing it. Alright, I'm all done with the writing part. So now, I think I'm going to take a lunch break because it's about 12:30. So, after I'm done with that, then I actually get to plan out the pages and start illustrating and that kind of thing. So I'm all ready for that. So I will come back in a little bit. Alright, I'm back. So now the next thing I need to do is cut my watercolor paper into pieces that will fit into the book. I am using 12 by 18-inch watercolor paper. So if I did the math correctly, that means I can get 9 4 by 6-inch pages out of it. So that's nice because that means I need less than 2 pages of watercolor paper. So I'll just get that measured and cut, and I'll be back with you in a second. I've got more than enough pages cut now. So the next part is actually the fun part where we get to plan out each page and do the illustrations. Okay, so I'm looking at what I've written on the computer, and it looks like for this first page I have 4 sentences. So I want to have the illustrations, I think, in opposite corners. So I'm going to have to somehow write the sentences around that. Very, very lightly. I'm using this HB pencil. It's a really nice middle ground pencil, not super dark. I'm going to really lightly just sort of section out the parts that I think are going to be illustration. Okay, and then the rest, I think I'm going to very lightly write the words that I'm going to have on the page, just so I know what's going to happen. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to proofread it to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to just draw over everything I wrote again with the black ink pen. Alright, now that that's done, I'm just going to give it about 30 seconds to dry, and then I'll take a nice clean eraser. Make sure it's pretty clean because you don't want to get black smudges all over your paper from the eraser. And then you can erase all of the little pencil marks that are still showing through in places. Oh, and just a quick note, if you want, using photographs as references can be really helpful, whether you're drawing animals or people or whatever. I quite often do that, so just keep that in mind when you're doing your sketches. Okay, so now that I've got a little sketch of a cat that I like, I will take the pen and ink and basically do what I did to the letters, except I'm probably going to work some more detail into the cat with the ink, which is a little risky because if you make a mistake you might want to redo the whole thing. But I'm just going to be careful, and so I'll put the fur texture and all that kind of thing in with the pen and ink.
Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Just going to do a little extra striping. Okay, and then lastly, I'm just going to give him, let's see, hold on, we got a couple things here. He needs his paws. Okay, then I'm just going to put a little bit of something for him to be sitting on, because right now he looks like he's just floating. Okay, so a little something there, and then I'll just give him his whiskers. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So that's just the first illustration. Okay, so then basically I'll do the dog, and then we can just keep doing this page after page until we have the whole thing done, because I'm not going to paint until I have all of them inked. Oh, and I forgot, I can go ahead and erase all of his pencil marks too. Okay, so basically I'm going to turn this onto hyperlapse, because this is going to be a lot of just doing the same thing over and over again. And yeah, I'll see you when all of this is done.
So it's after 10 tonight, and I'm about ready to sign off. So I did get all of the drawing and inking done for all of the pages, which is really good. Obviously, I would have liked to get some painting done today, but this is the most time-consuming part that I got done, so that's good. So hopefully I can still stay within the 24 hours. I think I can if I get up at a good time tomorrow. Anyway, so that's where we're at, and I will see you guys tomorrow. So first I'm basically doing kind of an assembly line strategy where I paint every cat on every page just so I can use the same paints over and over again. I don't have to mix new colors and then go back to old ones. So I'm just doing the first coat where I just get some color on, and then I'm just doing some extra detail with the stripes and that kind of thing.
So now that I have all of the dogs and cats done, I'm just going through and filling in all the other little colored areas so that I will be done pretty soon. It is 11 o'clock on the dot, and I've got everything in the book. It was a little silly of me because I was thinking, okay, there's 12 sleeves in the book, so I need to make 12 pages. But I didn't think about that I'll be putting them double-sided on each side, so there's actually room for 24 pictures in this photo album. So 6 of the pages at the back are not filled, but I'm happy with how long the story is, and I don't think it needs to be longer, so I guess I'll just rip those extra pages out of the back. So anyway, I guess that works. But I haven't gotten the cover done yet. So technically I did write an illustrated children's book and put it in a book. It's just the cover doesn't match. So a little bit later I'm going to figure out what I'm doing with the cover. But for now, I think I'm going to take a break from this. So, I don't know. Did I complete it in 24 hours or not? Almost, at least. Pretty close. Anyway, that's all it needs done, and I'm ready for a break. Turns out I had more illustrating to do after all. I just did one more picture for the front of the book, and then I glued that on with a glue gun. And then I took a little plastic sheet that was from a photo sleeve, and I cut that to the right size, and then I glued that on top. And then lastly, I just put some nice velvet ribbon around the edge for a pretty trim that would make it look a little cuter. So it is all done, and I'd say I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty cute. The only one thing I did not like was that the plastic bubbled a little on the front, which is disappointing, but it's not a huge deal. I think the little kids will still like to read it. So anyway, I think this was a really fun project, and I am really quite pleased with it.